Alright, today I'm going to try something I haven't done before, as far as I can remember at least, and that is looking for sword fail videos. We're just going to dive right into it and see what kinds of horrors await. 3 swords broken during filming, okay? What even is that? Is this made of paper mache? I don't know. Okay, yeah. Anything can cut a watermelon. As I've as I've shown in the past, you can literally cut a watermelon with a completely dull knife that doesn't even have an edge. So, butter knife will do it. What I want to look for is specifically user error, so we can talk a little bit about sword safety. Knife, nail, and sword fails. Nail? Oh no, 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 no. Why do you have your hand on there? No. No. Ugh. I was looking for something that I could maybe elaborate on as far as safety precautions are concerned. What's there even to say? He has his friend hold something between his hands, and he's trying to cut that something. I mean, this is some of the dumbest shit you'll ever see. Yeah, okay, this is a classic. Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, what do you expect? What do you expect? He's holding the top of it. Never ever swing toward your hand. This is something I've explained before in a video, why the hand is off the offhand is often on the back or on the hip, not just because it's an extra target for the opponent, but also it's just overall safer. The hand really, unless in sparring you're trying to grapple with it or whatever, in cutting, just test cutting, the other hand has absolutely no business being there. So the offhand should be either on the chest or on the hip or on the back. Nowhere near in front, nowhere near where the blade is. It doesn't matter how good you think your aim is, never ever cut toward your hand. Which is what this guy did, and he paid for it. Okay, this is just stupid. It doesn't even require any commentary. Yeah, I mean, what more is there to say? Certain levels of stupidity just get punished instantly. That's all it is. There's an entire playlist of people being stupid with swords, and apparently it's a playlist that Zombie Tools created. I approve. Do raise awareness of sword safety fails. Project Badass Samurai Sword. That sounds fantastic. Oof. That overswing. I mean, it's not strictly speaking unsafe as such. I mean, it is a little bit unsafe because it shows that there's lack of control with the sword. At least there's nobody standing behind her. Now, there's a car over there. I would be worried with this kind of overswing if she doesn't have a good grip on the sword. It may fly out of her hand and into the car. Better than into a person, but either way, this is this is way overswung. I'm a little worried about where the sword goes. Look at how close. I mean, the blade is hard to see here right now, but look at how close the blade is to the legs. That's not good. You never want to swing toward your legs. Oh, that's literally what happened. Okay. I wasn't sure if this would be it already. But yep, that's literally what happened. It was not on that cut, but on the... Oh, yeah. It just goes... Now, the problem with this is... this is clearly an unskilled person with a sword. They're just messing around. I don't want to be the killjoy who tells people you can never mess around with swords if you have no formal training. But there's definitely certain precautions you gotta keep in mind. One thing you can see here is how overextended the wrist is. I don't know if you heard that, but just from doing this, my wrist made a popping sound. So swinging like this with an overextended wrist, that can cause tendon injuries, tendonitis and all that. But the main problem is just not controlling where it goes. Ideally, in the beginning, it might be a good idea to just cut to what you would call long point with a longsword. In other styles, there's different names. But basically, to keep the sword in front of you, you can follow through a little more than center, but just make extra sure that it's nowhere near your legs. Well, that's perhaps not the best way to describe it. The important thing here is to control the angle. In the beginning, if you have no prior experience, it's good to stick to a very controlled angle, like a clean 45-degree angle or a horizontal cut, although those are more difficult. So the point is, don't go close to vertical, because then you might end up cutting toward your leg. Plus, if you do a 45-degree angle cut and you're inexperienced, make sure you don't cut toward your lead leg. So if you're cutting from your right to your left side, make sure that your right foot is forward, so the rear foot is the one that the sword goes toward, and thereby doesn't go toward because it's further away. If you're cutting from left to right, make sure your left leg is forward. And to be extra safe, you can check the angle by going through the range of motion without actually swinging full force. Just to establish that the trajectory is safe and that you're not cutting toward any parts of your body. You don't absolutely have to stop the blade early. Depending on the sword, you may want to allow it to follow through and then raise it back up the way you see here. So if it's done like this, the sword is not getting anywhere close to the body. The arm has enough extension to keep it out to the side. I don't want to see anyone just launch this cut that has too much velocity, and since they don't have any structure, in the sense of their body doesn't actually support the swing, they're just swinging with the arm, so they can't actually stop it with the structure of their body. Then it can go just about anywhere. That's what happened here. So that's where it goes into the leg. And hopefully this is not too bad of a cut. It was quite bad, actually. There's hospital footage later in the video, which I'm not going to show you because YouTube doesn't like blood and all that. So this also goes to show how fragile the human body can be and how dangerous blades are. It looked like this was some random, possibly mall katana, some kind of wall hanger deal going on there. So it probably wasn't even terribly sharp. I can't say that for sure, but it looked like one of those that are unimpressive quality, let's put it that way. And even the edge alignment was bad, as you can see, because it just kind of flopped around. But even so, it caused enough damage to end up in the hospital. So you really don't want to underestimate anything, and don't mess around with it. Okay, what's going on here? Oh, this is inflicting physical pain. What on earth? What is that even? Okay, so he cut himself in the shoulder. I'm not sure at which point he did, but I mean, with all this flailing going on, that could have been at any time. Oh my goodness. So just a general word of caution for two reasons. One, you don't want to mess yourself up, injure yourself, even with a crappy wall hanger like this. In some cases especially, because they can break and fly in all kinds of directions, etc. Two, you don't want to look like a total neckbeard douche nozzle, right? If you don't have formal training, don't try to show off. That's all I'm saying. You can't come up with a form. You can't do, like, fancy twirlies and whatever if you have no idea what you're doing. Not only is it dangerous, it looks like crap. There's nothing cool about it. If you want to show off an actual skill that you've been practicing for a significant amount of time. If you don't have any, start acquiring one. If you don't want to, don't try to show off. It's as simple as that. Oh yeah, you're such a badass. That doesn't prevent him from being a dumbass with a sword. Yeah, stab toward the camera person. What could possibly go wrong? What the hell? That's not even an actual male coif, is it? The thing that he has. It just looks like some glitter cap. Okay. Well, at least that's harmless. At least he didn't injure himself. He just busted the lamp. And again, you're not looking cool, okay? If you want to show off, I mean show off your physique. You've got something going on there. If you want to show off that. Be prepared. Still, the internet is going to make fun of you. It doesn't matter what physique you have. I've seen actual professional bodybuilders that people talk shit about in the comments. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how you look. It doesn't matter how much you lift. Somebody is always going to talk shit about you. But at least that's a safer way to show off if you want to do that. Don't show off with swords.
Go.
Are you serious?
What'd you do?
If you want to do sword choreographies, don't use a live blade. There's plenty of things you can use. There's blunt ones with rounded tip, or no tip, better said, no edge. And there's LARP swords that actually look pretty decent, especially in what looks like potato footage. So it's not really going to be that obvious, necessarily. So use that, but just don't mess around with a live blade. Oh boy, the edge is real. Dual wielding, if you haven't practiced it, again, not a good idea. And this is what I talked about before. If you're using a single-handed sword, the other hand has no business being there. And that applies to dual wielding as well, even though you're using both hands. They're moving independently. That requires a lot of practice, a lot of discipline training to be able to do that consistently without, the hands getting in the way of one another and without hitting yourself with the blade. 21-foot rule knife guy, final video. Oof. The footwork is all over the place. Basically, he has no footwork. He's just running forward on possibly wet grass. I mean, I don't know if it's wet or whatever, but it's not so much a safety fail as such. This is just one of those cases where shit happens. I mean, yeah, the way he ran at the target was not ideal. It wasn't a very stable platform in terms of where his legs, with the direction which his legs went off to. He should have had the legs further apart and forward oriented, not sideways and leaning extremely. But it's one of those things that can happen. Sometimes you slip. So if you have a sword in your hand and slip, in this case, how much could he have done about it? Normally, if you have a sword in your hand and you slip, the important thing is that basically as soon as you notice that you're slipping, point it away from yourself, essentially. As soon as you notice, you're losing your footing, don't keep it here. Just point it as far away from you as you can. That way you're not going to impale yourself. In this case, that's not an option because the blade was stuck in the stand there. So it slips out. This is probably the point where it hits him. So at that point, it already went wrong. There wasn't too much he could have done here other than maybe let go of the sword. Would have probably been the better option there. Just leave it in the target and just let go and get away from it. But that's easier said than done. In the moment when suddenly shit goes wrong, you're like, oh, what? You're startled. You may not be able to pull that off. So Suddenly he just has a hilt in hand. Wow. Wow. See, and this is why you don't mess around with wall hangers. This is why people like me give you all the information you need and do reviews and tell you what's functional and what's not, because this is how you get injured. This is how you impale the neighbor's cat or dog or kid or what have you, or yourself. This is another big thing. I haven't seen that in these videos specifically, but another big thing about sword safety is never ever walk around with the point forward when there's people around, and most definitely do not walk around a corner with the point forward, because if somebody comes around the corner, you're going to impale them. That's how it happens. So make sure that when you walk around with it, you can either have the sword with the point straight down. Now that still has a certain risk. It can still endanger your legs or your feet, or with the point up above your head, ideally. And don't rest it on the shoulder either if there's people around, because you can't see where the point is. So you could get the old ladder slapstick effect and whack that in someone's face or stab them or whatever accidentally. So that's another no-go. Anyway, hope you found this entertaining and maybe it taught a lesson or two about safety. Thanks for watching. Have a good one, folks.